Hey everyone! Welcome to the first episode of a brand new season of Lowdown.
Your source for music, arts, and entertainment in the Akron area and beyond.
We've got a great episode today.
We checked out a local artist,
talked to a comedian,
and even made a guide to shooting on film.
This episode of Lowdown starts right now. Hey guys, welcome back to a new season of Lowdown. My name's David Connor, and I cannot wait for you to see what we have in store. Got a new set, new camera angles. Hold on. New camera angles. I'm new, so there's that. Oh, hey Tyler.
Hey bud. How you doing?
All right, I guess. How about you?
All right. Hey guys, I'm Tyler.
Did you do a package?
No? Did you?
You serious?
I'm just pulling your leg. Let's check out what we have from my comedian friend, Elizabeth Milhoan.
A comedian? That's cool. I've never been funny on purpose before.
Oh boy, do I know it.
Let's check it out.
My name is Elizabeth Milhoan and I do stand-up comedy. My whole family is sort of funny. My dad mainly inspired me to do it. We run off of sarcasm. And so coping through comedy was sort of what we always did. But I was really inspired by Steve Martin because that's who my dad and I would watch just all the time. And what he did looked fun and I wanted to do that too. I should probably give myself my own walkthrough of my own writing process. It just depends on what the joke is. So sometimes I will literally just think of a punchline and then I will have to figure out what the buildup to that is. Or, when it's observational, if I observe someone doing something funny or something, absurd happens to me, if I'm just telling a story, if I just, tell you that it happened, it's going to be funny, but that doesn't necessarily work for comedy. So I have to figure out how to sort of finesse it and make it, make the whole thing funny, not just the actual event funny.
That's his name. That's whose name? Yeah. Well, go ahead and tell me. That's the man's name. That's whose name? Yeah. Well, go ahead and tell me. Who is on first? What are you asking me?
During this pandemic, it's really hard because you have to practice in front of people. It's not something that you can practice in private. You have to go up there and your jokes have to fail and they have to do good. You literally have to test them on people. I would say you need to be writing, you at least need to be writing every day and then practicing it, several times a week. The punchline could work, but the build-up might not work. And you have to figure that out by actually being in front of people, watching them react to it. I really do enjoy comedy that's more clean and upbeat and happy. That's just sort of, the type of person that I am and the type of comedy that, I do. And that's what makes me laugh. So I would say that that's what I like the most. People like John Mulaney, things like that, where they're sort of in the middle, but aren't entirely one way or the other. That's sort of my comedy. So if you want to enjoy just some everyday, what I think is funny stuff, you can follow me on Instagram at Lizzie Milhoan. That's Lizziemilhoan.
She seems like a real hoot. We've got some great stuff coming up, so don't go anywhere. Lowdown will be right back. Hey, Maddie. I made a statue of David.
Wow, that's really good.
Really? Thank you.
Yeah, you should meet my friend Alexa. She's a real sculptor. Follow me.
Okay. Wait, we actually have to do this right now.
Hello, my name is Alexa Farist, and I am an artist based out of Akron, Ohio. The studio that I am based out of is called Muddy Paws, located in Canton. I was hired there actually in March to just help run the studio and facilitate classes. Unfortunately, because of COVID, I haven't been able to actually work in the studio. But before that, I had been working at my college, Indiana Wesleyan University. I first was interested in ceramics as a junior in high school. I had a prof that was just so passionate about the medium that it really just got me interested in it. I had never seen anyone just gain so much and appreciate art so much. So that just initially drew me. And then he just poured so much time and so much effort into me as an artist. And I really was super immature. I didn't have a defined style back then, but he would meet with me during lunches, after school, before school, during my study halls, and I don't know, he just really changed the way I viewed art and changed the way I viewed myself as an artist. So the way I would explain ceramics to somebody who is unfamiliar with the medium, it's pretty much clay based. So there's a lot of varieties of clay bodies we can use, a lot of different colored clays depending on where you're sourcing it and what materials you're putting into it. But pretty much ceramics is working with clay, and you can either hand build or throw on the wheel. So you can make like functional pieces or more like artistic pieces. And then typically it will go through a firing process in a kiln, which it just reaches like a really high degree of firing. And in that stage it will become hard. And then glazings or underglazings or just keeping it raw. There's a lot of different things you can do with the clay from there, but through a process of firings and different glazes that you put onto it, whatever your product is can come out in a lot of different varieties, but that's how I would describe it. The thing that I enjoy the most out of creating ceramic works specifically is just how forgiving it is. You can come to a piece that you have forgotten for months, and with enough time and enough patience, it can be in a leather hard to almost bone dry state, and if you add just enough water and just really work with the clay, you can bend it and bring it back to life and make changes and alterations. And I think that's the thing about the medium I love the most, is just how, for me as an artist, I tend to just create without much of a finalized vision. And when my product can work and mold and transform as I'm generating my final concept, that's just something as a ceramicist that I'm really drawn to. The thing that inspires me the most to create my art is probably the Holy Spirit. Most of my art is very faith-based, but if it's not based in my faith, then it definitely is based in mourning and sorrow. Just even I was collecting a lot of my pieces, I realized the sadder I am and the more just depraved or lonely I am, the more meaningful my art will be, the more time I'll put into my art. So I think just at some of my worst spots, I always create some of my best works. So the process that I follow when creating my art is to pretty much just dive into it. I don't like starting with a ton of sketches. I don't love starting with a ton of concept art. I know a lot of ceramicists specifically do appreciate that, but I am such a fast turnover in my work. I can't stay on a project for a very long time, which is difficult making large sculptures or larger pieces, but I really just like to go in and start creating, and as I continue to formulate my ideas and my concepts, the piece will just continue to form. But I like to get a piece done in under a week if possible. And it pretty much is just like a full commitment, full time, full effort, 100%, and I'll come in pretty much multiple times a day depending on studio availability and just get the piece done as fast as possible. And then once it's gone through the bisque firing is usually when I'll take a breath, take a step back, begin to really put a lot more thought and analytical thinking into it for the coloration. So color for me has always been something not, I would say that I shy away from, but I tend to like very soft blush, black and white sculptures and just 2D pieces a lot more. So after the bisque firing, that's when I'm going to start like coming up with some swatches, coming up with some different glaze techniques, definitely figuring out what I want to do. And again, because I focus so heavily on other things such as texture and form, color is something that really does just take a lot more energy and a lot more time to have come out perfect. As an artist, I always hope that my art will be able to reach as many people as possible. I really just intend for my work to bring and contribute to someone's life, just add to their quality of existence in any way. And that could look so many different ways. But just currently, as a 21-year-old, I predict and hope that my work will eventually get me to producing full-time and just being able to live off of the work that I am supplying. So I know that is difficult, and that definitely is a big feat, having to have a fully functioning kiln and glaze room, and just all the materials and all the time that would take. But I would really like to see my art be able to just be able to sustain me and my lifestyle and eventually my family. One of my favorite pieces that I have created, personally, I don't find aesthetically pleasing anymore, but just for the season that I was in at that time, and just where I was as an artist in that season of my life, it was my final project as a senior in high school. It just represented like a lot of new growth and a lot of dying to my old self and stepping into new life. And again, even though I've changed so much and my style is so much different, that piece holds a lot of meaning to me and just reminds me a lot of where I was and where I've come. I've worked with wood before, I've done a lot of printmaking. I really had an opportunity to delve deep into printmaking my senior year of college. A lot of watercolor, acrylic, oil painting, also some wire work and some glass work as well. And you can find more of my work at my website below. Feel free to contact me, thanks.
Thanks, Maddie. That was awesome. I gotta say, three-dimensional art is pretty cool. I actually learned a lot. She inspired me to make some bold artistic moves on my statue of David.
Huh? Hey. Howdy, partner. Lowdown will be right back after this commercial.
Dinner's almost here. Ready to shoot his package?
I don't know. What equipment do you think we need?
You actually said you bring his own.
Oh.
Hey guys, sorry I'm late. Hey, can you hold this?
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Have you guys looked over the script?
Yeah.
Alright, cool. Alright, let's do this. Hello, my name is Tanner Martin, and I'm the president of the University of Akron's 2380 Film Club. I've been working with video gear and filming for a lot of activities around the Akron area for the past few years, and I've learned a lot through self-taught methods of using motion picture gear. The club is looking to explore how to portray the art form of motion pictures on film this semester, and some people may say that I could be insane from wanting to shoot videos on film in the year 2020, and they may have a point. But I've had a blast both learning and shooting videos on film, and I'd like to give a basic introduction to those who want to get involved and learn about shooting on movie film, but don't know how to approach the process. So without further delay, here we go.
When it comes to amateur filmmaking, there are 3 different sizes of film that are readily available to shoot: 16mm, 8mm, and Super 8 film. While there are some variations each size of film bring to the table, the main difference between the different film sizes is the size of the image, resulting in better image quality the larger the film size. Another important difference is that Super 8 film comes preloaded in a plastic cartridge like this, and it can be easily popped into a Super 8 camera like this. 8mm and 16mm film comes on a daylight spool in most cases to be loaded into a camera and then manually threaded, but we'll get into that in a minute.
I'll be discussing Super 8 film because it's the easiest format to jump right into and get started.
There are two types of films out there for shooting in standard motion picture cameras, and they are called reversal films and negative films. Reversal films are designed to be projected on a film projector for typical home movie viewing, while negatives are designed to achieve a much cleaner picture. However, the film is much thinner than a reversal film, and if you run a negative through a projector, it'll do the equivalent of dragging a needle across a record to the image on the film. Another thing to consider when choosing a type of film is the ISO rating of the film. The ISO is how sensitive the film is to light. The higher the ISO number, the more sensitive the film is to light, allowing you to shoot it in darker environments. However, the higher the ISO, the more grainy the film is, so if you like a more refined image, I personally would recommend looking for the lowest ISO possible to use in your given lighting conditions. If you want to make it look obvious that a project was shot on film like I do, however, you can achieve that more grainy look with a higher ISO rating.
If you managed to stick around after all of that, then let's talk about cameras.
When it comes to looking for a camera, it is very important to note that although these cameras are no longer being made brand new for any of these formats, there are still a wide amount of cameras available to purchase in both secondhand stores and the internet. There are some ways you can check to see if the film camera is operating properly without having to shoot a roll of film in it. The first step, if it is a battery-powered camera, is to put some batteries in to check to see if the motor will run on its own. In a spring-driven camera, however, all you need to do is wind up the motor and then press the shutter release to see if the motor will run. This can be done by shining a light through the lens of the camera, from possibly your cell phone if you need to, while the motor is running. After you power on the motor, open up the film door. If you can intermittently see the light between the shutter in the shutter gate, that means that the camera is very likely fully functioning. It may not be a 100% guarantee that the camera works as intended when it was manufactured, but it is a very good indicator that you will be able to run some film through the camera and get something out of it. Now it's time to talk about loading the film into the cameras. For Super 8 film, it's extremely easy to load the camera. You just take the film cartridge and snap it into place inside the camera. For 8mm and 16mm film, you need to manually thread it through the camera guiding mechanism to ensure that the film will run smoothly through the camera. If you misalign something while threading the film, however, it is possible for it to jam. This would result in you needing to open up the camera to fix it, and by doing so, losing some of the footage that you've shot because you just exposed that film to light if not done in a dark room. If you keep the camera running without fixing the film, you're able to have this mess happen to you. And this has unfortunately happened to me once when shooting during a concert. Once the film is properly loaded, you're ready to shoot. Since there's a wide variety of cameras out there, it will be impossible to talk about them all, but here are some examples of some typical home movie cameras that you can find out there to use. Most amateur motion picture cameras contain the same features as one another, but when choosing a camera, it's important to look at what features are on the camera, since no two cameras are alike. Some of these features include automatic or manual exposure, a built-in daylight filter, electronic zoom, and if the camera has a reflex finder where you can see through the lens, or a non-reflex viewfinder that will give you an approximation of what you are shooting instead of the actual image.
One very important tool to have access to is a light meter when you're shooting on film. For cameras that have automatic exposure, the electronics in these cameras are starting to get up in age and may not always be reliable. So manually measuring the exposure needed with a light meter to double check is always a good idea. If something's wrong with your camera, your film may turn out like it was dipped in ink and thrown down in a coal mine. There are many light meter apps available, however, on both Apple and Android, and these are much cheaper alternatives than trying to track down a physically working light meter. I highly recommend you take a look at those apps if you're looking at getting into film.
There's a footage indicator on all cameras to be able to tell how much of the film you've shot, and once you've used up your film, the gauge will show you, and then it's time to unload the film. Once you're finished shooting your roll of film, the next step is to unload it and get it developed. While motion picture labs are not nearly as common as they once were, there are multiple labs around the world and in the United States that you can mail your film to get it developed. You can also typically buy fresh film from these labs or straight from the manufacturers. These labs also usually offer scanning services for converting film to digital for people who are interested in using the footage digitally. However, there are still people crazy like me who want to go through the full physical process of editing film on a bench. There is something for everybody who wants to shoot a movie on film, from just shooting a simple and fun home movie to the amateur and professional filmmaker out there who appreciates the process of using a film to put something on the big screen.
That covers the basics of shooting a movie on film. If you want to learn more in depth about the process of shooting movies on film, be sure to check out the 2380 Film Club at the University of Akron. You can also check out what we're up to on our social media at the 2380 Project on Twitter and at UA_Film Club on Instagram.
Thanks, Tanner. That was really interesting. It's amazing how much video technology has evolved so quickly.
And a good thing, too.
Well, that's going to be it for this episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram, all at ZTV Lowdown. We've got some great content coming your way, so be sure to stick around. Alright, you can say it.
Actually, how about you take a seat and we say it together?
Oh, that's cute. Okay, you know, this thing isn't on, so I don't know why I'm doing that. Okay.
And
that's the Lowdown.
Yeah.
This program was produced by ZTV at the University of Akron. Do you want to gain experience in video production, professional social media, or working with real clients? Visit the UA School of Communications online or follow us on social media to learn more. ZTV, make media, make a difference.